Study section 12. Groupthink and group polarization. Introduction. In this lecture, discussion shall be on groupthink and group polarization. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Discuss the term groupthink and group polarization. 2. Identify sources of conflict and classify such on the basis of competing tendencies. And 3. Discuss the term prisoner's dilemma. Pretext. 1. What do you understand by the term groupthink and group polarization? 2. Discuss the sources of conflicts and classify them on the basis of competing tendencies. 3. What is prisoner's dilemma? Contents. If you've ever been involved in a group decision-making process, you have probably seen one or two things happen. Either the group agrees on all of the major issues, or there's significant dissent that splits the group. If the group is cohesive, if they agree on most issues, they tend to stifle dissent because group harmony is the anticipated outcome. Jennings, 1972. When we all agree and are happy with that agreement, we typically do not want to hear opposing arguments. This phenomenon is referred to as groupthink. It can lead to impulsive decisions and a failure to identify and/or consider all sides of an argument. Some classic examples of group decision going bad include lynch mobs, discrimination among hate groups, and mass riots. Similar to this, group polarization refers to a group's tendency to talk itself into extreme positions. In this case, a group gets so focused and energized about a decision that it creates an internal fall, so to speak, which pushes itself forward faster than originally intended. Imagine a group of protesters all agreeing and deciding to picket. You can see how this could get out of hand because opposing views, groupthink, are not considered, and the push to move forward for the cause is fueled internally. Group polarization. Conflicts. There are many sources of conflict in life. One way of classifying conflicts is on the basis of their competing tendencies. Identify sources of conflict in life and classify such on the basis of competing tendencies. Approach conflicts. It involves two alternatives that are both appealing, so we want to approach them both. However, we cannot have both of the alternatives because we cannot do two things at once. The conflict is in deciding which of the alternatives is more appealing. Avoidance conflicts. It involves two alternatives that are both unappealing, so we want to avoid them both. People often try to avoid both by trying to escape from the situation. Generally, however, escaping does not work, and we have to choose one of them. Approach avoidance conflicts. It involves one alternative that is both appealing and unappealing, so we want to approach it and avoid it. This would be something that we want but are afraid of. An example of this could be asking someone out, which we want to do, but as we get closer to the person, we get more afraid of asking the person because we are afraid of rejection, so we end up not asking. There are other types of conflict as well. For example, there is role conflict, which involves conflict between expectations for how people will act. This can be a conflict between the person and the role, which will involve a person being assigned a role that they are not comfortable with, e.g., a role that is inconsistent with, in conflict with their personality. Intra-role conflict, which would occur when a person feels conflict between the different demands of a single role, e.g., conflict a parent feels between being a friend to their children but also being a disciplinarian. Inter-role conflict, which occurs when a person feels demands to play more than one role, e.g., an employee being asked to do one set of tasks by one supervisor and another conflicting set of tasks by another supervisor. There is also conflict between people, which can be caused by many things. One frequent cause of conflict between people is the question of how to divide up resources. For example, if a person uses a little bit more of the common resources than is theirs, the consequences are small. However, if everyone uses a little bit more of the common resources than is theirs, the consequences can be enormous and may lead to complete depletion of those resources. This is the tragedy of the commons, as people are acting in their self-interest rather than cooperating and acting the interest of the group. Prisoner's dilemma. Consider a trade between yourself and someone else. You have something that she wants and she has something that you want. You have agreed to the exchange of goods, but the exchange has to happen without the two of you meeting. Thus, you will leave your good in one place and the other person will leave his or her good in another place, and then you will each pick up the left goods. However, you realize that you could simply not leave the good where you agreed to, but still pick up the good that the other person left. Then you realize that the other person has also realized this. Let's say the potential payoff for this exchange are as follows. 1. If you cooperate and the other person cooperates, you both are ahead 3 points. 2. If you cooperate and the other person does not, you are ahead nothing, 0 points, and the other person is ahead 5 points. 3. If you do not cooperate and the other person cooperates, you are ahead 5 points and the other person is ahead nothing, 0 points. 4. If you do not cooperate and the other person does not cooperate, then you both are ahead 1 point. What do? Do you cooperate or not? It is better for the both of you to cooperate. That is, cooperation is the best thing for the collective, because the most points that the two of you get together collectively is 6. When you both cooperate, however, each of you has an incentive not to cooperate or act on the basis of self-interest, regardless of what the other person does. The payoff for the individual is higher if you do not cooperate, and vice versa. If this relationship was going to be ongoing, is there a possibility of many exchanges rather than just one? Does this change your opinion of whether to cooperate or defect? The game is known as the prisoner's dilemma because of the content of the explanation originally proposed with it. However, it has been used extensively in social psychology research involving group decision making. Posters, conflict management, brief discussion. End of studies section 12. Thanks for listening.